Hi, my name is Gael and I just created this in OBS Studio using Streamerbot and a couple of plugins, and it goes a little something like this. That's it. How to make magic happen in OBS Studio. Today, I would like to show you how I make creative and interactive things happen in OBS Studio. One thing that I would like to try for this guide tutorial is to explain each fundamental steps that I'm going to be taking. That way, it can be more beginner friendly. So if you watch until the end, you will be able to come up with your own ideas. Let's get right into it. The very first thing I like to think of is the audio. Whatever effects I'm going to display, it needs to match with whatever audio I'm going to use. Okay, so there's a gazillion ways for you to find some audios. Most of the time, I just go on YouTube and I type something that has to do with what I'm looking for. The best place for you to download sound effects in general is going to be on tuna.voicemod.net. This is a community-based sound bank that has 500,000 plus meme, anime, video game sounds and everything. So this is in the anime category. There's a bunch of stuff, but I think I like this one. Imagine it starting it right now. Obviously, we're going to have to modify it a little bit and cut it short. But from there, we'll be able to think about what effects we would like to have. You can immediately download it. You'll see the icon next to every sound. Boom. So I'm just going to place it in the right folder. But now it's time to edit the audio if need be. In this case, we do need it. And for this one, we're not going to use OBS Studio. We could because OBS Studio has a bunch of audio filters plus VST plugins that you can add, but it's so inconvenient that it wouldn't be worth it. So I'm going to use a software called Audacity because it's completely free and it's, again, very convenient, very small, and also very intuitive. So software looks like this. Now it's right there. So I can click, drag, blop, and blop, drop it. So for now, what we know is we need it to be pretty short and we need it to start pretty close to the beat drop. You can see with your eyes here that the beat drop is going to be here. Here, there's a bunch of sound, blah, blah, blah. And we can see when that bass comes on and then boom, 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 boom. Happens around here, right? So we'll probably want it to start around here, like a couple beats before the beat drop. And I'm just gonna press delete. All right, now we need to decide how many beats we want after the drop before the effect ends. We don't want something that goes on for too long, unless like that's what you're going for. In that case, feel free to. I think about 8 beats is what I want. And then I'll probably have a fade out to end the effect. So I'm gonna delete everything after about 12 beats. The last 4, I basically want them to fade out so I can select them, selecting with my mouse here. And then on effects, I believe there's probably like a fade out right there. And just like that, you can see it fading out. I might add a little bit of a fade in. Let me zoom in by clicking here, select this, then effects, fade in, see how that sounds. Okay, that's not bad, but I kind of want the fade out to start a little bit earlier. There you go, something like that. Nice. Now we can go to File, Save Other, and I like to do Wave, call it Audio Edit, and click Save. Now, we're not going to close Audacity because we kind of want the timing so that we can time it later on with the triggers. In fact, if that's something that you want to write down like right now, you could totally do that. So the way you do this is by selecting from the beginning to the drop. So the drop is right there. And at the bottom here, it'll tell us that it's 1,951 milliseconds. I'm gonna write it down. And then at the bottom, what you can do is actually click and type exactly where you wanna start. For example, we know that 1951 is where we stopped. Okay, so that puts our cursor right there. And then I can select from there. And from there, I can select the next 4. And now we have a value of 1793. And since it's constant, technically the next 4 and the other next 4 should be the exact same value. The reason why the first one is not going to be the same value is because we weren't careful when we actually cut the intro. Okay, so let's set that aside for now and let's get into actual OBS Studio and let's try to brainstorm what type of effect we actually want. All right, so here we are in OBS Studio, and what I really like to do is create a new scene when I'm creating one new effect like that, because usually adding that scene back into any other scene is going to be very easy. So bottom left, I'm gonna click on the plus, make a new scene, call it Anime Edit, click OK. In my list here, I'm gonna make sure it's all the way at the bottom. just so that it's easier to find when I'm looking for it. And then I have my camera in a nested scene. So a nested scene is basically a scene that's going to contain one specific source. In that case, I have this scene called cam, and all it has is my camera. That way, when I need to bring my camera into another scene, it's super easy. I don't need to add another video capture device or whatever. I can just go to add a source, go to scene, go to cam, and here it is. Now, honestly, with that effect, it doesn't have to be on your camera. It can be on anything. But I feel like with the beat, it would be cool to have it show up and then basically on beat, it would be like boom, 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 boom. Kind of like a montage, kind of like a live edit. I think that would be cool. It would be even better if it was a freeze frame every single time. Basically, you would be dancing. You could do whatever, but every freeze frame would be different and maybe a different color. I don't know about the color yet, but I think that's a pretty good idea. So where do we start? I think it would be cool if every frame had a mask. So let's talk about masking. Masking is basically creating something that envelopes your source and will decide basically which part are going to be visible and which part aren't going to be visible. For example, in OBS Vanilla, if you add a filter, you will see something called image mask blend. And what that does, it allows you to basically bring in a picture that will determine those visible parts and not visible parts. For example, if you want a circular webcam, all you need is a black and white picture with a white circle and you'll have it. How easy it is to create a mask? Let's ask our buddy, MS Paint. I'd like for the background to be black, so I'm gonna select black. I'm going to find my fill bucket tool here, nice. I'm going to select my oval tool. And then I believe somewhere in here, it'll tell me if I want to fill or not. Solid fill, that's good. I'm going to select white as my color. And now I can drag. What happens if I hold shift? Oh, look at that. If I hold shift, it's going to be proportional. So a perfect circle. Congrats. You just made a circular mask for your webcam. Let's go ahead and save as PNG. And now back to OBS Studio. All you have to do is pick that image. It's right there. And booyah. That's it. That's how you mask in OBS Studio Vanilla. No plugins, no nothing. Just create an image, bring it in, and you got it. If I can do it with MS Paint, you can do it too. That being said though, if you don't want to use that, or if you want to go a little bit more advanced, what you can do is use things like the Advanced Mask plugin. Advanced Mask plugin. How do you find it? You Google those exact words. And that gives you more options basically. And you can create that mask directly in OBS Studio. For example, corner radius here. If I want rounded rectangle, I can do that right here. If I want a circle that I can dynamically move around, I can do that here, okay? Advanced Mask plugin for OBS Studio. A plugin is like another tiny piece of software that slightly modifies OBS Studio to make it do things that you want it to do. All right, now that you understand the fundamentals of masks, what we're gonna do now is group up our webcam. And the reason why we're gonna use a group, even though it's really good to organize your sources in general, is to be able to add specific filters to the group and not the layer itself or the source itself. For example, we have the camera here. I can right click on group selected items, and this will put it in the group that I can call skew1. You'll see why. What I can do is add a filter to the group. Let's say, for example, this. I can collapse the group. I can right click, copy the group, and then paste duplicate of the group. So it's a whole new source and I can change the hue, right? So now I have two groups, one with this color and one with that color. So I can have multiple effects on different groups, even though I'm just adding that effect to one single webcam really, right? And we're gonna use this to our advantage. What I'm gonna do is on skew1, I'm gonna go to filters. I'm gonna turn off the color correction for now. I'm going to go to advanced mask, click OK. Go to, make sure it's on shape, go to rectangle. And what we're gonna do is create some sort of skewed rectangle or diagonal rectangle, if you will. And we're gonna do this by doing this, height, and then we are going to do rotation. I think something like 8 degrees and just adjust the width and the height. All right, something like that. What I'm gonna do is right click on the advanced mask, copy it, go back to skew 2, turn that on. Turn off the color correction, right click in here and then paste. There you have it, except I want it to be on the other side. So my 8 degrees is going to turn into -8 degrees, just like that. And now I have two sources or two groups with different masks. Now, as I said before, I would like for each of them to create some sort of freeze frame effect. And how do we do a freeze frame effect in OBS Studio? There's multiple ways. Two of the ways that come to mind is by taking a screenshot and displaying that screenshot, but that is complicated. Usually what you can do is on any source, you can right click and then you can click Save Source Screenshot. And now using something like Streamerbot, maybe you can pull up that file and it gets really complicated really fast. The other way is by using a plugin called Freeze Frame. Is it freeze frame? I think it's freeze frame. So if I turn this on, again, we're going to apply all of our filters to the group so we don't affect our source. If you have the plugin installed, oh, it's called freeze. You'll find freeze, click OK, and you can see that it's frozen right there. So now we have a filter that is very simple. When it's on, it's frozen. And when it's not on, it moves. So we know we're going to be using this, right? Boom, boom, boom. We're going to keep it that way. I'm going to right click on it, copy it so I can add it to the other group. Right click, filters, boom, paste, nice. And now we need to remember that, actually this looks weird. Now we need to remember that there are 4 beats. There's gonna be the first 4 beats, though. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so if we're gonna have transition 1, 2, 3, 4, then there's gonna be an additional 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4 again. So now we need to imagine how the effect is going to take place. And then we'll think about the intro later. So I think having 4 different images, so 4 different groups basically show up pile up, one after the other. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that would be cool. Usually you would want to think of all of the effects, put them all in one group so that it's easier for you to just duplicate with every effect. But in this case, we're improvising. I'm showing you all my mistakes and my workflow is not perfect either. So what I'm gonna do now is basically duplicate more, right click, copy that group, right click, paste duplicate, and then right click, paste duplicate again. So we have our 4 groups right there. And I believe we can start playing around with the colors. So now I'm going to turn off the 3 on top, go back to my filters on the first one and play with the color. Yeah, I think a little bit of a hue shift could be cool without necessarily bumping the saturation. Let's go -180 for this one. Let's go kind of reddish for the second one. Maybe bump up the saturation a little bit. For the third one, remembering that the previous one was kind of red, my background that is. Yours is going to be different unless you have the exact same background and the exact same lights, the exact same face. Since it was red, we're going to go light blue. And finally, it was light blue. Let's go green and we'll bump up the saturation a lot for this one. That looks so weird. So basically, I want you to imagine it going boom, 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 boom. But then they're sliding in, right? So we have our 4 groups that are going to repeat twice before the end of the edit. We should probably think of the intro. I kind of want it to be something very simple, basically fading into whatever is going to happen here. So what I'm going to do is get my camera to be normal outside of all those 4 groups, right? So which is pretty easy. I can just click on cam, copy, right click, paste reference. That's the only option you're going to get. And there it is. Except it's going to be all the way down because I want those 4 groups to show up on top of it, right? Now let's turn off that group. And if we want, we can put it in its own group. So right click, group selected items, intro. And now we have a group called intro. And what I'm going to do is add a specific filter to it to make it look weird-ish before we get into that beat drop. And now we get to talk about shaders. The shader filter plugin is a plugin that allows you to bring basically pieces of code that will affect image in general. Those are usually called .effect files or .shader files. They're used a lot in old school video games, I believe, or still new school video games, I don't know. But basically it gives you access to a lot of very, very cool stuff. So when you have the plugin, it's called Shaderfilter, one word. You're gonna see user-defined shader in your filters. Click OK. And what you want to do is load shader text from file and click browse. And you have over like 120 or something like that that comes with the filter, which means that you can get more. You can also code your own shaders if you want. One of those shaders is called drunk, and it's basically this pulsating weird drunk effect. It's wild. This one is called ripple. I kind of like it. I think it's not bad for like the intro. Like this starts, but I want it to fade in. How do I make a specific source fade in when it becomes visible? We're going to be using show and hide transition. And that is some OBS vanilla stuff. If you right click on any source, we're going to right click on our group here that says intro. We're going to see show transition. At the bottom here, you can set the duration and we're going to set that to fade. So right now it's going to take 2 seconds to fade. We don't want it to take that long. We know that our transition is going to take almost 2000 milliseconds. So maybe we can give it a solid 1000 millisecond and let's click on fade. All right. So now if I turn this off and I turn it back on, it fades in. So basically imagine you have your normal camera or your gameplay and then this fades in, the intro comes and then boom, 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 boom. This looks so silly for now. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But in order to bring those in, I want them to slide in, right? I want some sort of transition to happen. And in order to move a source in OBS Studio, we're going to be using something called the Move plugin. The Move plugin is pretty complex because it allows you to do so much. It adds so much to OBS Studio. But one of the things that the only thing that we're going to be using right now is the Move source filter that you can add to a scene in order to move sources within that scene or groups within that scene. So again, that's a filter that we're going to add to the scene. So animate, edit, filters. You can see there's nothing right now. We're going to go to plus. And once you have the plugin installed, you go to Move source. And now we can select the specific source that we want. Right now, we want skew1, which is our first group. Boom. And we want to make sure that this position that it's in right now is recorded, registered. So we're going to click on Get Transform. Nothing changed, so it had the right position, but you never know. And the way the Move source filter works is that once you click on it, on the eyeball to make it visible, it's basically going to translate the data, the position, the scale, the rotation, the crop data, and it's going to gradually bring it to whatever that filter has. Right now, that filter has this position, this scale, this blah, blah, blah. If we click on it, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to bring it there. You can also set the timing that it's going to take to accomplish that, right? So in order to move it somewhere else, I would have to add another filter, another Move source filter, select skew1 again, and then move it somewhere else, and then click Get Transform, right? So it has different coordinates. And fun fact, that's exactly what we're going to do. What I'm going to do is rename this skew1 fit, group skew1 fitting, middle of the screen. Then I'm going to duplicate it. We're going to call it skew1 out. That's where it's going to be coming from, right? And it's super simple. I really love things that are visual, that I can just manually, do whatever I want with. And what I'm going to do now is make sure I have skew1 selected and then just drag it wherever I want it to come from. I'm just going to drag it out. Something like that. That's fine. I'm going to turn off the intro because it's making me sick. And now I'm going to click Get Transform and you're going to see the position change. Boom. Okay. So now if I click skew1 fit, boom. If I click skew1 out, boom, boom. So it registered both positions and it's going to just go in between them. From there, there's a whole lot of things that you can do. Skew1 fit, for example, is taking 300 milliseconds. Both of them are. We can make it take longer than that. Let's say 1000. So skew1 out, 300 milliseconds. Skew1 fit, 1 second, right? You can see that it's easing in and also easing out. So it's basically picking up speed and then slowing down. That is something that you can turn on, turn off, and play around with. Easing function is the type of easing that it's going to do. Elastic, for example, if I do this, you can see that it shakes a little bit. It shakes a little bit. But it's shaking before and after. We don't necessarily want that. So what we're going to do is set easing to ease out only. That way, it only bounces when it stops, when it's supposed to stop. But remember, this is going to be pretty fast. So having something like 500 milliseconds might do it. We're going to have to adjust a lot. Nice. Now let's do the same thing for skew2. Move source, skew2 fit. Make sure you have source skew2 or skew1 is what it's called here. Duplicate, skew2 out. Now it's skew2 selected. We want it outside like that. On skew2 fit, we want ease out, elastic. So we can start visualizing a little bit. So boom, boom. This is what we're going for. I'm just going to do the exact same thing for the two other groups. So I'll see you later. All right. So if we click on all the skew fit, we should see this, and that. Nice. Okay. So now that we have 4 that are stacked on each other, what happens when we need to reset? Maybe we need another one where, I don't know, where everything goes out. But since we already have all the out, we can probably just trigger that and then bring it back for the second time. So I'm not worried about that right now. All right, so let's re-visualize it in our heads. Intro fades in for the first couple beats before the beat drops. So fade in, and then boom, 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 boom. And then they all go out at the same time before the second 4 beats. Boom, 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 boom. Maybe we make them all go out again and then simply make that intro fade out the same way it faded in for the last 4 beats while the music is fading out. And how do we make it fade out slowly? All we have to do is click on our intro group, go to hide transition. And just like before, we're going to set it to fade. Make sure that the, I think 2000 millisecond is fine. It's really going to slowly fade. So if I turn it off right now, for example, there you go. Turning it back on, again, a little faster, but we have that effect. So yeah, of course you can add more effects if you want to, but I think that that covers pretty much everything. It's so ridiculous. So now what we need to think about is the timing of it all, but also how are we going to trigger it? We're going to use Streamerbot. So Streamerbot is a separate software that can control OBS Studio. It's connected to both OBS Studio, but also to your Twitch account or your YouTube account or anything. So that means you can use alerts, you can use commands, you can use anything that has to do with your account, but also keyboard shortcut and a whole lot of things to trigger whatever you want in OBS Studio. So in our case, basically what we want is to toggle visibility and to toggle filters for the movement. We just need to time it right, and we're probably gonna have to play around with it a lot. So we know that this whole thing starts with music playing. How do we play that specific sound? We can either add it to OBS Studio as a media source. In this case, I would add it here. I would go to media source, wherever that is, call it anime edit sound, click OK, browse and go find it. There it is, audio edit, and just click OK. Now you can see it here, it's playing. You cannot hear it because I'm using another OBS Studio, but the reason why I like to have it in OBS Studio directly is just for this, because it's in the mixer and I can basically lower it or increase the volume as I wish. But there's a problem here is that we're not hearing it. You need to decide how you want to hear it. The easiest method being, of course, having it being picked up by the desktop audio and also playing in your headphones. Forgot the word headphones for a second there. So what I'm going to do for now, I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to play it in a loop so we can figure out when it's working or not. Then I'm going to go on the options here. I'm going to go to advanced audio properties, and you can see anime edit sound is right there and audio monitoring is here. So monitor only will play it in your headphones, but will mute the output itself. So right now, technically my stream would be able to hear it even though I'm not hearing it. But monitor would mute the output from the source itself, but it would play it in my headphones. And since my desktop audio is listening to my headphones, both of us, me, the stream, will be able to hear it. If you put monitor and output while you have desktop audio on, your stream will hear it twice, basically. Desktop will pick it up and then OBS Studio will play the source itself. Now, to be optimal, when you have an effect like that, you would want to basically mute the desktop audio or lower the desktop audio while the effect plays and then bring it back up. But we're not in the business of doing anything optimally here. We're in the business of learning. So I'm going to set it to monitor only. So it's going to play like an alert. You can probably hear it right now. Double click, make sure it's not in a loop anymore, so it only plays once. So now playing it is just a matter of turning that source on or toggling its visibility. Just like that. And then turning it off at the end. All right, are you ready for the annoying part? The heavy lifting, the micromanaging, timing everything? We're gonna need to play the sound, most important thing. After playing the sound, flip the visibility on that intro group. It's automatically gonna fade in, so we're good. Turn on intro, and then turn on skew fit filters. Now, here's a quick sidebar about timing and triggering things when it comes to the Move plugin. And I told you it was amazing, and I told you it was kind of complex. If you scroll all the way down on any of your move filters, you're going to see simultaneous move, next move, as well as start trigger, visibility and order, blah, blah, blah. Basically, if I wanted to trigger the rest of those to the beat, I could technically already do it in OBS Studio without Streamerbot. Basically, I could make it so that by clicking on skew one fit, it automatically plays the rest to the beat. Or in Streamerbot, I could just do turn on skew one, wait this amount of time.
Turn on skew 2, wait this amount of time. Turn on skew 3, wait this amount.
Whatever you're comfortable with. I think I'm gonna go with Streamerbot for this time, but you can watch my other tutorials where usually I do all of it inside of OBS Studio. Wait, so turn on skew fit to the beat, turn on all skew out after the 4th beat. So we're gonna have to cut that beat in half, skew fit again, and then turn off intro group. There it is. There's the plan. Let's do it. All right, open up Streamerbot, go to actions and cues, and we're going to create a new action. I'm gonna call it anime edit. And before deciding what's gonna trigger all of that, we're going to go right into the sub actions. So I'm gonna right click. We want to turn on the music first, right? So I'm gonna go to add. It's OBS Studio, it's sources, and it's set source visibility state. I don't know if it's easier for you to see like that. It's gonna ask you for the scene. Scene is anime edit. The source is actually the music first. Anime edit sound. And we're gonna make that visible. Now, instead of doing that again, add OBS Studio, set source visibility, we can right click on that one and duplicate it, then double click on it and just pick the different source, okay? Because we want to make the intro visible at the same time. It's the same action, just a different source. So remember our list? That is taken care of, and that is taken care of. That fast. Now, this is where we're gonna start playing with the timing. Remember that the intro is 1951 milliseconds. So we're gonna add a delay to basically wait for the beat drop. That's going to be under add core delay. We said 1951. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm actually gonna add a trigger so I can test it. And I'm just gonna add a command. So under trigger, right click, add core commands, command triggered. Do I have any test commands? Not really. We're gonna create a command, anime edit test, exclamation mark anime. Click OK. So now I can technically right click on my command and test the trigger. So as you can see, it plays the sound, it turns on my intro, so it's working for now. Now we just need to make sure that it's triggering the right scene filters. Now it's if those are filters, the move source filters are in the scene. So right click, add OBS Studio, scenes, and then set scene filter state. This scene is anime edit, and the filter is skew one fit. Click OK. And I'm not going to show you all the tests over and over again, but basically you're going to test it and basically you're going to gauge if it actually falls on beat or not. Okay, so far so good. Remember to reset it, you have to click on skew out. We can always go back to Audacity and basically measure the time between each beat. And here we can see it's approximately 400 milliseconds. But now in Streamerbot, I can say, hey, just wait 400 milliseconds until you bring in that second group. For the second skew fit, I can just duplicate this, double click, select the right one. Same thing, duplicate the delay, since it's gonna be the same. Duplicate this, select number 3, duplicate this, duplicate the delay, duplicate, making that filter visible. All right, and test it. Oh, you see the vision? You finally see the vision. Cool thing with Streamerbot is that you can also add a group in here and you can name it fit1, for example. Let's place it up here and then let's add everything to it. Just to make it less intimidating for you. Let's add another group, pick a random color. And what I'm gonna do in that group is, again, OBS Studio scenes, set scene filter state. And we're gonna put all of the out, but all at once. We're just gonna have to determine like the delay between that last beat and then this. There you go. We just need one more delay in between these two. And the question is, do I want it to remove all of them at once at the half beat after the 4th? I guess that's a yeah. I guess that's, yeah. Let's do that. Let's add a delay in between them. And let's say, since each beat was about 400, let's put 200. I feel like there's going to be a conflict, but we're going to figure it out right between that. Let's reset everything. Okay, no conflict. So let's duplicate that delay again. Wait, yes, let's duplicate that delay again to make it a full beat for 400 milliseconds. Nice. And now we can just duplicate this group. Nice. And then duplicate the delay again. And now duplicate the out group. This is where we're going to probably see the timing slip out a little bit, and we'll just have to adjust like one or two of the delays and we'll be good. Okay, so it seems like the delay between everything going out and then coming back for a second beat is a little too short. So we're going to have to play around with it until we find something that is suitable. It doesn't really make sense, but I might be wrong. Let's go 400 milliseconds. So I'm right-clicking on the trigger and clicking test trigger to test it. That's it. All that's left is to turn off the intro, but also to turn off the sound. So we'll need a little bit of delay for that. For the intro, as soon as all the groups scatter, it can trigger. So I don't even think we need a delay for that. I'm just going to duplicate the intro visible here, double click on it and make it hidden. So state, visible, hidden, toggle, hidden. It resets it. And then let's figure out the length of the outro, basically. Yeah, about 1900 milliseconds. So now delay, and finally duplicate the top one, double click and make it hidden. And just like that, the timing should be right. Now, can I be real with you, chat? Is it possible for me to be real with you? Completely forgot the freeze frame. Completely forgot about that. But the good news is that we can inject that. The question is, when exactly do we want it to freeze? And the answer is right before, basically at the same time that it's dropping. So it's going to be pretty easy to implement. So here, before or after SKU1 is being triggered for it to fly in, this time it's a source. So OBS sources, and it sets source filter state, SKU1, and the filter is freeze. The state is visible, and you can see it right here. All right, it's going to get pretty big here, so I'm going to add that to all of them. Of course, since I messed up here, my fit one now has 11 sub-actions and this one has 7. So I'm going to delete this one and then reduplicate this. Then place it where it's supposed to be, right there. But I want it to unfreeze for the second set of 4 beats, right? So in my out, I'm going to unfreeze everything. We're going to add OBS Studio. It's a source, set source filter state, and then do the same thing, but like unfreeze absolutely everything. Source, SKU1, freeze, state, hidden, boom. Okay, same thing for the out group here. We're going to delete it and then duplicate this one. And place it back. So right now, it plays the music, turns on the intro, wait for the beat drop, freezes the first one, puts it in place, freezes the second one, puts it in place, etc. Waits a little bit, moves everything out of the way, unfreezes everything so that if you come back with more dense moves, then it's going to be different. Does the whole thing again, turns off the song, turns off the intro, and you're good. Now let's see what that looks like. This. Oh my, we did it. So in case you're wondering, it's been 1 hour and 45 minutes. That's how long it takes for me to explain every single step and then do this. In reality, it would probably take me 30 minutes if I was doing this without recording, and even quicker if I wasn't completely improvising all of that. I don't really like that it unfreezes. Maybe I want to freeze that intro. Let's try to figure it out. So intro, let me right click, filters, and also eventually freeze it. Yeah, we can do that. We just got to find out when. When do we freeze you? Right before it all scatters the first time. So here, add OBS Studio, sources, set source filter state, intro, freeze, visible. When do we unfreeze it? Let me duplicate it first. Right before it scatters the second time. Make sure you double click and you set that one to hidden. There we go. That way it's more consistent. It's going to be a bunch of frozen things the whole time. All right, let's do a proper test this time. Let's go. Oh my God. Keep in mind that it's fading from black to black. If you're in a normal scene, for example, this is my normal just chatting scene, for example, people are talking, blah, blah, blah. And I were to add this as a scene, animate edit, boom. It's fully transparent, as you can see. So right now it's fully transparent. So once you trigger it with Streamerbot, it's basically gonna fade in to that scene like that. And then fades out like that, okay? If you don't like the fading out, you can pick whatever other transition you prefer. Again, right click, show transition. I like the Luma wipe, and there's one called Sinus 9. And it looks like that. And you can also set that to your hide transition. So now, again. What am I doing with my life? Oh, my eyeball is on fire. I'm having like pretty bad allergies right now. Oh wait, if you really want to make it like anime-ish, you can always type anime lines overlay in YouTube. Yeah, let's get that one. Type YouTube MP4 on Google and find a suitable website. And then just add it to the scene as a media source. Call it anime lines. Just make sure that it's not playing any sound. Doesn't seem to be. Oh, it's multiple. Well, that's annoying. Thankfully, we have control over the speed, so hopefully it doesn't last that long. Or worst case scenario, we can just restart it. Like turn it on, turn it off, turn it on again. So it restarts and now we're good. All right. And for that, what we're going to do is make it full screen, but also change the blending mode. Right click, blending mode right there. And we're going to set that to add. That way when it starts, it's going to look like that. Okay. Now, of course, in Streamerbot, you need to figure out when to start it to make it visible and when to stop it. So that's going to be right click, add OBS Studio, source, set source visibility state. The source is anime line. I'm going to set it right at the beat drop, bring it after our delay. Then I'm going to duplicate it and make it stop right after everything clears out the second time. Double click, state hidden, boom, bring that down. Bring that beat back. Make sure everything is reset. And finally, we can test it. And y'all sleep on me, man. Y'all be sleeping on me. Hi, my name is Gael, and I just created this in OBS Studio using Streamerbot and a couple of plugins. And it goes a little something like this. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's all you get. So if you want to learn how to create things like that from scratch, the full tutorial is over at my YouTube channel. And for those watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Send this to your streamer friend, and I'll see you next time.